The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guests and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of S4, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast or reproduction of this broadcast or podcast without express written consent of S4 is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Because we don't understand how life formed, it is difficult to estimate this probability. The likelihood of a complex molecule like DNA being created by random collisions of atoms in a primordial ocean is fantastically small. In an infinite universe, it would happen in some places, but they would be very far apart. If we want to find advanced intelligent life, our best bet is to listen for radio signals.
Look up to the stars and the forest that surround. Do you see them? Do you hear them? Are they there? SpacedOutRadio.com presents S4 with Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and friends. Also, take the time to join the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Conspiracy, Area 51, Dogman, Ghosts, Cover-Ups, UFOs. The hidden will reveal itself.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4 with Eric Cooper, broadcasting live from the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. Tonight, we are having our monthly roundtable, where our panel will bring 3 questions related to the paranormal and conspiracy to the table for discussion. Tonight on our panel, we have Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist, Tessa Nicole Thomas Peterson of Four Corners Paranormal, myself, Corey Reese, and your host, Forest Moon Paranormal Zone, Mr. Eric Cooper.
Oh, good evening, S4ians, and yeah, welcome to the very rainy, supposed to be windy mountains of Concrete. And lots been going on. It's been an exciting 2018, so I got to say it's going to be a fun roundtable tonight, if I can remember my questions. So, only current event we got going on that I got to announce is on the 27th, we have our joint team meeting in Burlington, Washington, at the Burlington Library at 2:30 p.m. And that's for any members that are in WASP, any members that are in White Noise, any members that are in the Canadian Ghost Crew, and we have 2 representatives from South Sound Paranormal coming up. So And of course, I can't forget any members in Forest Moon Paranormal that are local need to be there for sure. So, how's everyone doing tonight? It's been a crazy first part of 2018 with, well, now a government shutdown, which we'll get to much later in the show, unless one of you has that question already. But do we have Markham here now? All righty. So who wants to go first? Anybody.
I'll throw it on the table. People keep talking about disclosure and what have you, about when's it going to happen. I'm curious what people actually think disclosure is. Like how they're going to recognize when it happens.
I would agree with you, because, I mean, we said this on the show many times that, and even Mark and I have talked about that, is that, disclosure actually happened in the 1950s with the White House UFO flap that had radar returns. That was disclosure. What do people think? The public thinks disclosure is they expect Trump to stand up on the White House lawn and say, we've got UFOs. And they're making America great again. But, yeah.
And government's never going to do that. Government is never going to fully disclose because they're basically putting themselves out of business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my last blog for Space Out Radio was about not really needing the government. I mean, disclosure is something that affects us as people, as individuals, not as, and then from there it spreads out to countries and nations. Disclosure is going to be an individual, grassroots, from the ground up type of event.
Well,
it's not going to be a government saying, "Oh, guess what? They can't."
Yeah, I discovered something rather remarkable today when I was just puttering around on the net, which is rare in the first place for me. But people talk about disclosure and what have you. And I'm thinking, take all the reports and push them aside. Let's look at the government. The government of the U.S. in Massachusetts, with the backing of the UN, the Massachusetts government, the U.S. government, and the Massachusetts local historical society, all combined to put a monument up. Okay, they all said it's real. They did the same thing. That was for the Tom Reed issue. They did the same thing with Barney Hill, but the thing I stumbled across today, you'll love this one, and I'll apologize for the pronunciation of it. It's a funny little community in Chattanooga du Pape in France, where they literally have a law that says if extraterrestrial visitors land in their area, they will be arrested. And
they're illegal immigrants.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But they've actually passed a law in the city to arrest them if your normal, your traditional saucer or cigar-shaped spaceships land, they will be immediately detained.
Good luck with that.
Citizens arrest.
Yeah.
Good luck. No. Good luck arresting them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, they might be able to arrest them. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to hold on to them.
Yeah, or catch them in the first place.
Yeah, you could say that about the ones that were captured in, was it Argentina or Brazil, and were turned over to U.S. government, and still, as far as we know, have never been returned or taken back to their home people.
No, and actually, shortly after that event, that race returned. Not really sure what happened with that. I think they, realized, well, their kin were detained by humans and left. But yeah, there's actually a similar craft that was spotted. And real quick, we actually got a UFO report 3-4 days ago, and that's why I tried to contact you, Keith, which race has the boomerang?
Which race has the boomerangs?
Yeah.
Well, those are still your consortium. They're connected to the same.
Okay.
They're the same groups, if you will, that run the triangles.
Okay. Yeah, because there were two boomerang craft seen in the UK by one of our members and her husband, who was a skeptic. He's not a skeptic anymore, and
Can't imagine
they shot. No, they shot very. I mean, they were gone. They moved very rapidly, and they were like 100 feet. If they were actually to land, they were at least 100-foot width or length.
Yeah.
So also on that, we are in touch with Peter Davenport, trying to get a lockdown on when he's going to come on the show, but he has agreed to come on S4. Just going to get a date, and we're hoping to get him on March 3rd and talk about UFO reports and patterns and whatnot as far as what new forecasts going on. So getting back to disclosure, though, I wanted to add, there's multiple countries around the globe that have actually come out and disclosed or released their UFO documents. So why is it that they have to look at America in order for there to be disclosure? Seriously.
Well, I know, I believe it was China or Japan or somewhere like that. The president's wife came forward and said she was abducted. Her husband backed her up and said, yes, it happened. They totally disclosed to the country, but as far as the United States government goes, like, they're pathological liars. And if they start disclosing now, like, they're going to have to admit they've been lying this whole time. But aside from that, you see people who have, like your case you were talking about, they witness it and they're going batshit crazy. If that happened on a global realm, I mean, who could imagine, like, the catastrophe and stuff that would happen with disclosure? Because a lot of people aren't born with common sense anymore. They don't have it. And yeah, it would just be pretty crazy for the mass of us when the less of us have it going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're not born with it or if it's bred out of them after they get born, but the thing I don't understand is why governments on the whole don't realize that people already think they lie. Why do they have to worry about being proven? you know?
Oh, hey, and we need to give a real quick shout-out. We have two new listeners to S4 tonight in the chat room, Sandra Heath and Catalina. Welcome to S4, and glad you're listening.
Hello.
And Trippin is in the chat saying, didn't a Florida politician also come out and say they believe or were abducted? I don't remember hearing about that. Anyone else?
Yeah, we actually reached out to her during her campaign. She reached out and she either claimed that she was a experiencer, or she tried to she was briefly in the spotlight for having admitted. Okay, it was her name is Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera, and she was running as a senator, U.S. senator, and she said that aliens took her on a spaceship, and they actually covered. You can probably find the article in the archives at the Miami Herald, and that was in October 16th, I believe. So
was there ever a follow-up with that, or did she ever come out and say anything else, or was this a one-time work?
She pretty much got that out there, and then it took, I would say it was probably a month after I sent out the interview request that I got sort of a automated reply that was very non-committal, very polite. It was obviously one of those robot type of responses that
Right. They're automatic.
Didn't have anything to do with the actual. I think she was more interested in coming on to flog her campaign, but not. Just got her handlers tamped her down real quick after that happened.
Yeah, Tripp and followed that up with it. They swept her under the carpet real fast, and she's a Republican to boot, so of course they're going to shut her up. Go ahead, Jess. What's up?
Did you nuke Tess?
All right.
Yeah.
There you are.
What I was saying is anytime something like that comes up in the news, it seems like you hear about it once or twice and then it's gone. You know, they don't run it into the ground like a lot of other stories they cover. It's like we put it out there. If you saw it, good. If not, oh well. And they move on. It's just swept under the carpet, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, because, again, the government doesn't want disclosure, and that's kind of the stepping stone for it. We have politicians. I mean, you got Jimmy Carter. I think Jimmy Carter had his own UFO sightings. And for those that have taken the UFO training session, I go into that. I think my favorite of all the presidents, though, that actually came out and talked about aliens was the Ronald Reagan speech.
Mm-hmm.
In front of the UN.
Ronald Reagan actually had a sighting as the governor of California. He was on a plane going somewhere, some kind of official flight within the state, and saw a UFO. And it wasn't just him. The whole cabin crew, including everybody on that aircraft, saw that. So it wasn't just him.
And again, you talk about disclosure. We've had so many, highfalutin people, politicians, law enforcement, first responders. You've got the case of the abduction in New York where the UN ambassador and his bodyguards witnessed it. It's not going to take the president to come out or even the Pope to come out and say they're here.
Well, yeah, these days it takes...
Well, I think the people
research.
that believe already know, the people that are open to it already know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's this small percentage of us that do. There's the percentage that don't care because, quite frankly, if they landed on the White House lawn tomorrow, it wouldn't make a damn bit of difference. They'd still have to come into work tomorrow. They'd still have to pay their taxes. They'd still, I'm in that category. It doesn't, it don't matter what happens. I still have to come to work, pay my taxes, and feed the cat. And then there's the others that just it wouldn't. Their brains just aren't wired for it. It's I call that the eye zombies that will sit there and converse with somebody sitting across the table with them via text on their iPhones. They never look up. Those people are a lost generation anyway, and it doesn't matter whether they believe in it or not. They're inconsequential.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Tessa?
I was just going to say the masses, or what people fondly refer to them as sheeple, they won't believe anything until it's basically on their dinner plate, right in front of their face, There's the believers, there's those that don't really give an F, and then there's those that won't believe it until it's staring them right in the face.
Well, let's take this a step further, though. I want to bring up 2 points. We have our own little scope of paranormal field, and we don't even have people in the paranormal field that believe in UFOs. They can believe in a spirit, but aliens, they can't exist. So when are we going to ever expect the population to ever believe in it if we can't even get our own paranormal spectrum to believe in it?
Well,
that's one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I spent 2 hours. I had a show earlier today, and I spent 2 hours talking about that whole thing about what people see as disclosure, about the misconception about all of them being all aliens being either malevolent and vicious individuals or benign, or benevolent. And I was mentioning that as well, that even in our fields, people, if you go and talk to somebody and go, "Oh, I feel I was abducted," most of the people in this field go, "Well, you're nuts."
Yep.
I mean, there's a serious problem.
So out of 3,200 listed paranormal teams that are in the United States alone, I would be willing to put it out that there's probably only about 50 out of the whole 3,200, literally, that have anything to do with UFOs.
And you're probably giving the benefit of the doubt to about half of them.
I am. And I know I am. Because, I've reached out to about half of them. And the minute you bring up UFO, well, that's not paranormal. Actually, it is. And
what do you call paranormal?
Huh? Say it again?
No, they're like, bye, Felicia. They don't even want to listen to it. Like, it doesn't exist. It does. It's been here before other paranormal shit, was happening.
Careful on the language. Right. Careful on the language, please. Thank you. I now have to edit that. Thank you.
Sorry.
Sad to say.
Are we live on Joe Roop's channel?
Yes.
I mean, well, so much for that. You got to read the UFO is paranormal, so it couldn't be here before the paranormal got here.
Right.
Well, there's different theories on it, as far as creation, etc., etc. If there weren't people created yet, how could there be paranormal? But, like I said, there's different variations of the story, and who knows which one is correct.
Well, you got to figure there's probably ghost aliens, too.
One of the things you have to consider, we talk about disclosure happening in 52. If you look at the legends of the indigenous peoples of South and Central America, the plains, the indigenous people of the American Southwest, there's disclosure there.
Yeah, the Native Americans
they had the couch. They didn't know about nuclear physics and all that, so they couldn't describe it. But if you look at what they say, and I hate Giorgio Tsoukalos because he's such a douche, but a lot of the points they bring up on that program, Ancient Astronauts, there's a lot of chaff, but every once in a while there's a kernel of truth on that show. And,
exactly.
There's plenty of evidence. There's been people put in electric chairs in this country with less credible witnesses and less testimony than there are for the case of extraterrestrial visitation and UFOs. And yet UFOs, are still considered fairy tales. And it's just, it's wrong.
So I want to I want to put my 2 cents in here. The big problem that I see, my opinion of, is that it appears that basically the government in this country has got so much of the masses convinced that unless they say it, it isn't true. That's the reason why, even though there is an incredible amount of evidence, an incredible amount of soft and hard disclosure that has happened throughout the world, and not just alone this country. That's the reason why you can't get anybody to say, "Oh, well, disclosures happen," because they believe that unless one of these major government officials stands up there and says, There's UFOs. There's aliens. Welcome aboard. They ain't going to believe it. They aren't going to say that it's happened because they have gotten so brainwashed in this country that unless the government says it, nothing's true. It drives me absolutely bat crazy because so many people cannot think for themselves anymore.
And the funny thing is, even if the ship were to show up, people would chalk it up to being a Hollywood stunt that was phenomenally well done.
Project Bluebeam.
Yep. Okay, so let's move it along because we're beating this closure up again. So Markham, you got a question?
Give me a minute to switch. Give me a minute to switch gears because I was getting ready to. I was on my soapbox about disclosure. I got to switch gears mentally.
All right, Tessa, you got a question?
Well, I was just getting back on the point of presidents that were abducted by aliens. And someone had mentioned Jimmy Carter. I was not aware that he was abducted by aliens, but isn't he the president that put solar panels in at the White House?
Okay, say that again. Jimmy Carter didn't get abducted. He saw UFOs. He had a UFO sighting.
Okay.
When he was in the Navy, I believe.
The president that put the solar panels in at the White House that were just recently taken out?
I think so. He was big on, the energy crisis happened. God, I remember that. The lines, just even in a small southwest Michigan town, to get the week's worth of gas Dad and Mom would need to commute. But yeah, the energy crisis and all the Arab embargo happened during his administration. So any alternative fuel, any kind of power idea, he tried to popularize and get to some popular acceptance of.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I thought that was interesting. But one of my questions was with these meteors. I know that it was spotted over Michigan to Texas. It was even spotted in England, and I've seen meteors in person and the way they burn up when they descend, but something that I've noticed with these meteors is how they just kind of do a flash and then vanish instead of continuing to burn and break up. Have you guys noticed anything weird about these recent meteors within the past week?
And something that just occurred to me. What about that Chinese space station couldn't that have been a piece off of it?
Yeah, but the flash and the disappearing instead of just continuing to burn and break up in the atmosphere.
Ones like that, and I haven't seen the meteors myself, simply because, well, frankly, I don't go outside much. But what you're describing is a jump to sublight speed.
Yeah, like a warp. Yeah, a warp.
Yeah, you're not talking about a meteor. They don't disappear that way.
No, and so I put the article with the picture in Forest Moon Paranormal, and it looks like a beam coming down. Now, Mark and I were talking about that last night. It does look photoshopped. It does look like, someone took a Independence Day picture, but I don't think so. That actually hit news. It doesn't look like a meteor to me the way it's coming down. It looks like a particle beam is coming down, hitting the earth. That's just first
the one
impression.
that I saw a meteor just like that driving into Durango. It came down and it had the kind of bluish green, more green than blue color to it, and just a slow and steady pace, and then it went behind the mountain. But just the way that it came down and then flashed, and then there was another spark, and then it disappeared. It just reminded me of going into warp before it hit the earth or whatever, instead of breaking up like a meteor would. that's how
Right.
they find it. They'll trace what they saw, and then they'll go and find the crater or whatever and find the meteor. It didn't do that. It did a little flash and then spark and then gone.
Well, I can tell you what, if it was a ship
seemed
jumping...
odd to me.
What the heck is that? Who's got music?
Whenever a provider gives you new health information, it is a...
What was that?
Aliens! No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I got
Aliens.
What happened?
Well?
My phone went dead. Was that me that...
Yeah, that must have been coming from you. Anyways.
Okay, what happens? We've got touchscreen phones, and I reached over by mine. I probably... My bad, folks.
That was just interesting. Just interesting.
It was nicely timed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
At least it wasn't paranormal related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was about to say is, boy, I tell you what, if that was a ship heading to warp, boy, it was heading to warp right through the middle of Earth. But interesting.
Which, by the way, makes for an interesting outcome on the other end of the jump point.
I would think.
And it wasn't directly down. It was still at probably, I would say, like a 45-degree angle at the point that I saw both those videos. One was from Texas and one was from Michigan, and they were basically the same. They did the same exact thing. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, like, what the frick is going on here,
That would make me think...
Language.
That would make me think, Keith, that it would be kind of like the bug in the windshield. Just saying.
Close, but yeah. No, it's kind of entertaining because people make one miscalculation with that. And that is they try and equate the reaction on the other end to Terran technology. And the compensators that they have on those ships can actually handle it, but it does get to be interesting if they haven't calculated the jump right.
Well, yeah, as soon as it particulates, like, it doesn't matter what's in front of it. It's going where it's going.
And stay out of the way.
The thing you got to remember is if physics as Terrans know it do not operate the same way. You can actually jump to warp and stop inside an atmospheric body, like inside a planet, and all you get is a pop and a flash of light, and that's all the side effect. Pop on the way out and a flashlight on the way in. But you don't get the impact. Because you got to remember, first and foremost, the way that they travel, it's, well, the best way to put it is they cease to be in one place and they show up at the other place moving at a relative speed to the place they're showing up.
Kind of like Frank Herbert envisioned with his guild navigators folding space, traveling without moving.
Ultimately, yes. Don't
you
forget,
move the universe underneath you.
Well, yeah, because if you think about
frozen.
if you think about it, the universe moves a heck of a sight faster than mankind does, than technology does. So if you can step out of sync of the universe moving, you can show up in a different location in a heartbeat with no inertial impact.
And Trippin saying the sonic boom from the one in Michigan gave a 2.5 earthquake reading.
Nice.
Yeah, and then
when it hit.
Other people were saying it wasn't the boom that caused the earthquakes, but I didn't even read into that. I've had so much going on, but it's interesting, to say the least.
No, I think
when you look at that picture, depending on whose version of the photograph you look at, one, it looks like they took the poster from Independence Day and photoshopped it.
Right.
Others, it looks like you can almost see a smoky trail surrounding the light. And then on others, depending on the filtering, I guess, it looks like a particle beam discharge.
It does.
So take your choice.
But my other issue with that is, if meteors are hitting the Earth, where's the scientists, where's the astronomers, and how come they're not detecting this?
Yeah, because basically all you're getting is a bunch of meteor hunters that want to find that say they want to find the fragments, because a gram of meteor, depending on the type of meteor it is, the cost you can sell that for. Oh my God, I could I could fund.
Well, yeah.
I could fund the Paracon for the next 10 years on what a good chunk of that would cost.
All right.
And you'd hear by now if they had found it or not, and we haven't heard anything.
No, they shut that one up real quick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even if all it was is a meteorite strike on the Earth, that cloak of secrecy, or whether it's just the news cycle being geared toward people with the attention spans of gerbils on crack, or what it is, that just to anybody whose eyes are open, that just adds suspicion, whether it's and probably needless suspicion on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the picture in my head. That's wonderful.
Now all you need to do is hand that little gerbil a fork and a light socket, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
That's one reason we love Markham. He is very descriptive.
He is.
Well, yeah, and you never know
Corey,
which direction he's going to come from. He's full of surprises.
Corey, you got a question?
I do. And this is something that I know that we've beat up pretty good, but yet it still seems to, even when you think you've got it nipped in the bud, seems to rear its ugly head. And it is, why is it there is so many dramatic drama queens in the paranormal? There is more drama queens in the paranormal than there is in a drag show. I mean, really. It's awful. And, why? Just why? There doesn't seem to be any need or reason for it, but yet it continues to happen. It's like it's the one place where somebody can figure out a way to stick their finger in the socket and start stirring things around, just, I don't know, for amusement, what it is. Thoughts, please, give me some.
Well, I was hoping we were going to bring that up.
One of the biggest reasons I suspect is because it is such a, shall we say, fringe area, that you get the people that figure they can get away with it and get their 15 minutes of fame turned into 10 years simply by making a good story or making a good upset, if you will. Which is,
just look at Zach Baggins. He's the most dramatic freaking drama queen I know, and I freaking can't stand him. But everybody loves the show. I have a character I like on there, but he just ruins it for me. And it's kind of like they have to make it theatrical because this is a freak show or something like that. Which it's not. It has some respect, but.
So that's the thing, though.
The problem.
It sells, but here's the problem. Here's the dilemma. Paranormal TV, and that's part of one of my questions later on in the show, but paranormal TV is nothing but entertainment. It's labeled as entertainment, but too many new up-and-coming paranormal teams, they emulate what they see on TV, and they think that's how you're supposed to do it. They don't bother educating themselves because they think paranormal TV is the education. And that's where the paranormal field goes wrong. And that's where you have to clean up the mess. Now, where do the drama queens come from? I think the drama queens just come from, let's stir up the pot and let's poke and prod and let's get infighting.
It's ego.
Why? It's ego, and it might even be psychiatric in some cases. I don't know. In answer to your question, Corey, I really don't know. I'm at a loss on that one because it happens too often.
Well, I think you answered it right there. It's becoming, can we call them attention whores? It's look at me, I'm dominating the field now because I'm the drama queen that everybody, love him or hate him, and I'm on the hate him camp. Everybody knows who Zach Bagans is.
They do?
I think he's a major issue. By and large, a majority of people know who he is. If you say Zach Bagans at a Paracon, I'm sure everybody there is going to have an opinion, pretty much. But he's what, like Coop's saying, he's what's wrong, or that kind of persona is what's wrong. The people like Corey Reese.
I'm
going to butcher your last name, Corey.
Just say Reese. Reese.
The Mike Morans, the guys that out there and just quietly go about doing the job, collecting the data. They're not household names because they're more intent on doing the job than they are being the next media sensation. And that's why you have the drama queens, is they want to be the media. They want to control, or they want to be part of the narrative and to control it to an extent.
And that's where the problem is, though, because, while the attention whores are getting all the attention, the clients are the ones that are hurt by it all. Because the clients aren't getting the help they need when they're going to the attention whores. The clients are getting the help they need when they go to the Mike Morans and the Corey Reeses. That's where they're getting the help.
That is.
Well, a lot of people go in there and just stir it up and then just leave it alone and go on to the next case, instead of closing it.
Well, yeah, the damage that is being done by these, as everybody calls them, drama queens, coupled with what I call irresponsible investigating, it just creates a phenomenal cross-current. Yeah, and what I don't quite understand, I can chalk it up to one answer, but is how it is people can see that happen and not realize it's happening in the first place, aside from being clinically brain dead due to the media and due to society's tendency to look at the cell phone and not at each other.
Well, I think that's part of the problem is education or lack of. I won't say they're brain dead. I'll say, ignorance is not an excuse, but they don't educate because they think they're being educated. Because they don't see it as entertainment. They see it as reality. Let's go poke and prod the spirit and get it all worked up and mad, and then make it, say something on the EVP, or make it materialize so we can get that picture so that we can be famous. That's what it boils down to.
Have you ever noticed the people like that want to go and just poke and prod and see what happens? You notice you never hear of anybody going to Amityville to do that?
No, they all go to Waverly Hills and pay $2,000.
They're scared.
Oh, is that what they're charging there now? Good God.
I don't know. I threw that number out. It sounds about right. You know what, though? I just saw an advertisement in another group that they want to take some investigators to Waverly. Why? Why are you going to investigate an already known haunted spot? That is not an investigation, folks, because it's already been proven haunted.
No, but it is a good place to take through if you want to train them.
Yeah.
It would be a great place to get some validations and some, it'd be a great place to go if you were just strictly not worried about seeing a ghost, catching an EVP, if you wanted to go there and actually get some reproducible data. That is where a place like Waverly would come in handy.
Yes.
That would be great.
Well,
to think, like, say you had 3 or 4 different meters, EVP meters, or not EVP, EMF meters, and you want to determine which one's got the best sensitivity. Take them to a place like that, put them side by side, use them, and then you say, well, brand B is definitely more sensitive than the other 4. Yeah, that's what a place like Waverly is good for.
Yeah,
it's like to me, it sounds like it's a reliable testing laboratory.
And that part.
We're talking about spirits of people that died there. Like, why aren't we trying to help them move on? I know that a lot of them may have been disabled or aren't able to communicate, but, I mean, why aren't people going in there and trying to release those thousands of spirits that are still trapped there? I know only a handful have been noticed or recognized, but not everybody's going to buck up and be like, hey, here I am. You know, there's a select few that does that, but...
Yeah, that opens up a whole can of worms, that whole sending them on, because some of them don't want to go.
That's the ethical thing to do. And then you have the issue of paranormal entertainment, that now they're not going to make money off their location because now you've taken all those spirits away.
Well, not all the spirits are going to move on, though. It's all up to free agency, and you have the freedom of choice, and you can choose to move on or not. Like, nobody can make you move on. That's a decision you make on your own.
A lot of places
and
like
so
that.
Not everybody's going to move on. There's entities and energies that want to stay there. They like it there. But there's other people that don't want to be there anymore, you know, and they don't know how.
Mm-hmm. You're not entirely correct. It is actually possible to force an entity into the next stage, if you will.
Well, it is possible, but it's not right.
It's not ethical. It's not right. It's not ethical. Absolutely, it's infringing on somebody's freedom one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, how much of the stuff going on there? Okay, Waverly Hills, that's the one that had been a sanitarium, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Some of those people weren't in touch with reality when they were alive. And in order to try to help them in the next, on this next plane, are we even sure that, okay, once you pass through the veil, your cognitive abilities go back to what we would consider a normal, everyday person? Or are they as backcrap crazy there as they were here?
Well, that one I can answer. And the answer is yes. Once, been there, done that. Once you get over there, what makes people, so to speak, nuts on this side, that the metabolic interruption that happens in the human genome is no longer a relevant problem. So you go back to
no
thinking,
longer have the
normal.
hindrances.
Exactly. It just doesn't have them, because it's very much like any of the if you take water, right? When you take water and you put it in a container, it stops its flow. As soon as you remove those walls from it, it goes back to where it belongs. It goes back to its normal flow. So once people die, they don't have the human side of what drives them nuts. More often than not, they go off kilter because they can't handle the restrictions that the human brain puts on them. Their energy flow is too high, and they're seeing way more than what the human brain is prepared to translate.
But getting back to the hot spots, and that's exactly why Forest Moon Paranormal only goes to hot spots once a year. And like Corey said, that is when we test our equipment. That's when we show our new team members, this is what the equipment looks like. This is what a spirit looks like. Because if you go to a hot spot, you're going to see something. We're going to Fort Casey in April, March or April. I have to look at the schedule, but you're going to get an EVP. You go to a spot that you know is going to have activity. So one, you can show the team what they're looking at, what they're looking for, how the equipment works, and they test their protection out. Now, so if the protection's not up to par, and they do get attacked, or they do have an attachment, the astral team can handle it. And now they know, okay, my protection, my shields aren't up to par. I need to work on them. That's when we go to a hot spot. And that's the only time I see needing to go to a hotspot.
Exactly. And getting back to, my original question on this stuff about...
Drama queens?
Exactly. In the paranormal. I think some of the worst part of the whole situation, we talk about some people who just don't know any better and they learn from TV and whatever and what else. The worst part of it is when there's a lot of them that know better. They know better.
Okay.
They've been around it enough. They know exactly, what shouldn't be done. They know exactly what should be done, and still they choose. And that's the thing that irritates me the most, because we know that all of us as humans, we have that nasty ability to be able to just choose stuff sometimes. They still choose consciously to do some of these really rat crap stupid things. I think that bugs me the most.
And again, I think that's where psychiatric might come into play. I think they just they get a kick out of themselves for stirring pots, things of that nature.
It's like they're 2 years old or something.
Yeah.
Well, the race is young.
It seems like it's getting worse, not better.
Well, isn't that the way they say it happens? It gets worse before it gets better?
Yeah, but how many times? How many times we got to deal with this?
Well,
so,
I don't know
real
about
quick,
you, but I've seen it happen an awful lot.
My question actually goes kind of along the same lines as how do you deal with the paranormal problems. And, just today there was an article posted in Forest Moon about a very famous TV show that went to Oregon and blatantly came out and blamed the witch community of that area for causing the hauntings. Now, as a witch, I take that very offensively, because now you're going to bring out all the radicals that are going to, turn on the pagan and the witch community, because this highfalutin...
Started all over again.
Yep, this big highfalutin paranormal TV show came out and said, yep, the witches did it. When in all reality, you'll find 9 out of 10 witches are the ones that are helping the paranormal community by passing over spirits, by removing malevolent entities, by helping clients, not causing the problems. You do have a small minority in the magical community overall that do attack people. They do cause the paranormal problems. But you don't come out on TV and blame an entire belief system for problems. That's unethical. That's unprofessional. And how do we fight that? That would be my question.
I don't know exactly on how to fight that. That's kind of a sticky issue, and you say that, and you're saying that the witches are the ones that are coming out and helping the paranormal in the community in the paranormal. Well, they're the ones a lot of times coming out and helping in the community. Period. I think one of the biggest things that drives me nuts, and some people are going to hate that I say this, and that's fine. I don't care. You can hate it. Is there is a ton of the Christian community that likes to, they go to church and like to say how good they are and how much they help, and when it comes out to the community itself, they don't do a darn thing. You don't see them do anything. But your local pagan down the road is the one who's trying to help the poor, the needy, doing things for the military in need, and helping with the paranormal situations, and and everybody else is standing around with their thumb in their butt. I think it just drives me nuts. And how do you combat this? I don't know.
Well, isn't one of the central tenets? I mean, don't you wouldn't one of the education? Isn't one of the central tenets of being a pagan? Or I don't know that much about it myself, but whatever you put out comes back at you tenfold. So are you going to be throwing curses out there if you think that's going to come back at you tenfold?
Well, sad to say, I know a number of pagans, and many of them are quite literally that dense that, and don't get me wrong, some of my best friends are pagan, but there are those that even they figure because they are in that field that they have the right to do it, and they usually chalk it up to my ancestor was so and so and she got burned at the stake, so everybody's going to pay for it now. And I'm looking at this going, you're going completely against what the teachings are.
Yeah.
You know.
So my thought on it is, whoever's trying to defend this needs to get the facts from the past. Like, what were this witch's actual practices? What did she do? Did she do good or did she do harm? For the most part, it's going to be good. From what I've seen, a lot of it was good. There were some that were misguided. But you need to get the facts, build those up, and be like, these are the facts, this is what actually happened. And to me, the ones who should be haunting this area are those who persecuted those in the past, unrightfully. And, did their stupid tests, like if it floats, it's this, or whatnot, etc., It's just misguided, which humans are, If they don't know something, they're afraid of it and they're going to try to get rid of it.
Well, that's just it. I found that with people, and I call it people because I find it with every race. On the whole, people fear that which they don't understand, that which they fear they strive to control, that which they cannot control they strive to destroy, and that which they cannot destroy they fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like you summed it up pretty good there.
Yeah,
but
it's a
my
issue
is my main issue is anytime you get a quote unquote public figure or somebody that the public looks at and they come out and say blanket ignorant statements, they get the little radicals that are within the mix to go out and take action.
Yeah, little sheeples.
Well, here's what I see.
That's the main thing you have to immediately look at.
Here's what I see. If you're going to get out in front of something like this, one, you have to take legal action against such an entity because they know better. And you would have to get enough of the community together to go after them on a class action. And believe me, I think it should happen. I really do. I think it's slanderous, hateful speech, what he said, and it can be taken that way, and it can be prosecuted that way in a court of law. Secondly, is I think you have to get out in front of things the same way that we do in the paranormal when we're trying to let people know, what to look for in a good paranormal team, and what to look for in a bad paranormal team. And it is simply stating, putting out there what, pagans are actually about. You post it up, if you have a pagan page, whatever it may be, you post up, about healings and, doing work for the community and so on and so forth. It's about the only thing you really can do.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't being a pagan basically a religion too? Like, isn't this country founded on people's religious rights? Like, why is this religion not accepted or noted?
Well, that would have to do with the it's sad to say, but the Christian overrun on the pagan community centuries back.
So just to clarify that, though, the term pagan is an umbrella term for many different earth-based religious beliefs. So Wicca, which being one of them, is actually recognized by the government and by the military. I believe right now that's the only one. Asatru might be, which is the Norse. But not going to delve into what paganism is because that's not what the show is about right now. But it is a recognized belief system. So there is legal action on the First Amendment that you could take.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so we will carry on with Markham's first question of the night after the first break, or the only break.
Yeah.
I better come up with one then, huh?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely have to work
that might
on
be an
it.
idea.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get off to the break here so we can get back and continue on with this discussion. When we come back from break, we will continue our monthly roundtable here. Tonight on our panel, we have Eric Markham, our FMP scientist. We have our Keith Andrews, his astrologer and alien specialist. We have Tessa Nicole Thomas Peterson of Four Corners Paranormal. Myself, Corey Reese, and Eric Cooper of Forest Moon Paranormal. Join us every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and The Fringe FM. And now for you local listeners, you can catch our show on Wednesdays on KSVU 90.1 on your FM dial from 10 a.m. till noon. Check out Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott Monday through Friday, Spaced Out Weekend with Joe Roop Saturdays, and Elizabeth Anglin and Cosmic Passport on Sundays, all at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also check out The Fringe FM with shows like Lighting the Void with Joe Roop and a plethora of other good shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers. Whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange, the Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need. Only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed on tonight's show by tonight's hosts and guests are not necessarily those of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays, Spaced Out Sundays, or spacedoutradio.com. Listener discretion is advised. And now back for hour number 2, we have Corey Ruiz, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, and S4. You can find Forest Moon Paranormal on Facebook. And for more information on S4, visit spacedoutradio.com. And now, here's Eric Cooper and Corey Ruiz.
Welcome back, everyone. For those of you just joining us tonight, we are having our monthly roundtable where we are discussing everything under the sun when it comes to paranormal and conspiracy. On our panel, we have Eric Markham, R. Keith Andrews, and Tessa Nicole Thomas Peterson. Everyone, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having us.
Hello.
Always fun on the roundtable. So Markham's gone. So who's got their second question ready to go? Anyone?
Any takers?
Going once.
It's not really a question. It's kind of like a statement as far as our government shutdown. Current events, I guess, is where I'm going. Instead of not paying our soldiers who are, taking care of our freedoms, we should be not paying the House and Senate, or the President for that matter.
And
let's start at the top and work our way down.
You took my question away.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
But
sorry.
You know what? No, it's okay, because you know what? To add to that, not only is it bad that our own military is not getting paid during the shutdown, but if one of our soldiers dies in combat right now, their family does not get the insurance. They do not get the benefits. They will fly the body from, say, Afghanistan, and usually they will get the family to pick up the body. Those benefits have been stopped because of this shutdown. And it completely disgusts me. And to quote President Trump, and I hate saying those words together, but to quote him, in 2013, he verbatim said, "Any president that has a government shutdown is a very weak leader." Those came right out of his mouth, but you know what? Where are we right now?
Well, I kind of look at the government shutdown, and it's like, how can you possibly? I mean, it's kind of like prisoners in the penitentiaries we're going on strike. If you're, is not the running of the government an essential service if you're going to run a country?
All I know is those are my brothers and sisters out there, and they're putting their lives on the line. And not only are they sacrificing their lives every day as far as time with their family and stuff like that people on the House and Senate get, they have a pampered life. They get whatever the F they want. And, these soldiers are putting their lives on the line every freaking day. giving up their lives, giving up their freedom so we can have ours, and you're going to not pay them, and you're not going to cover them when they're out there getting killed in these ridiculous scenarios. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And these people are sitting with their thumbs up their A's, because I can't say the other word.
You can say but.
Pisses me off.
You can say but. It's
It really
okay.
pisses
That's all
me
right.
off.
Here's something that I have to put to this, and I don't care who doesn't like me for saying it. I'm pretty good at that. I really don't care a lot what people think on some things, but
that's okay. That's
here's the thing: is that right now, the current administration, president on down, these people lied and stole, and conned their way into offices. And there isn't a single one of them that gives a crap about any of us. Unless you're one of their rich friends, they don't care. They would walk over your dying body and your friends' corpses to steal some money from somewhere to make themselves richer. They don't give a crap about any of us. And that's one of the things. And, you know, the current president has got such a foot and mouth syndrome that it's remarkable. I have never seen anybody this bad in office. And the bottom line is that he'll say one thing and then say another one completely. I mean, he did in 2013. He said that that if there was a shutdown, that president was weak. He said that it's the president's fault. And then as he walks in a door, he turns and looks at the press and says, well, it's up to the Democrats. No. If you believe what you said, it's up to you, you little bastard. You orange turd.
I do have...
Well, and you know what? Respect in other countries, especially in Oriental countries, so far as Japan, Korea, etc., respect is a really big thing. Honor. If you offend someone's honor, like, that is a death sentence, and it's like he has no respect for our lives. He's sitting there saying these things to, little Chi-Man and not even caring how it's going to affect us. And they're doing missile tests, etc. Come on. Have a cement brains.
I do have an odd question for you, and to me it seems a little funny anyway, but because I don't follow it, but has anybody noticed whether with the government on shutdown, whether or not his Twitter account is still running?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It is. Believe me, it is. I'm on Twitter. Believe me, yeah. Anyone that wants to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Warfighter of Washington, or Warfighter WA. But yes, he's on Twitter. Trust me, that hasn't stopped. Unfortunately.
There's no way you can shut that beast down.
No. And Trip is in the chat room saying Fort Bragg is still flying today. Well, of course they are, because the military will never stop. We had a government shutdown when I was in the Army. And we even asked our commander, since the government shut down, does that mean we can just stay home? And, he laughed and said, no, you better be at work or you're going to be Article 15. So, yeah, our troops, they still work. They just won't get paid. And I have low blood pressure anyways, fortunately, because my blood pressure right now is probably over the roof because of all this crap. Because we have kindergartners in the White House, folks, both Democrats and Republicans.
And
They both work together. You can't deny that. But the Democrats actually did try to pass a bill that whether the government shut down or not, our troops would still get those benefits. And, well, it got shot down because, the Republicans, they don't support the veterans. They don't support the troops. They never have.
Hell no.
Did they have any idea how they got into office in the first, how there was an office to get into in the first place?
They conned their way in. They
No.
Yeah.
They lied to their to their base.
Constituents.
They lied to their constituent base and basically, conned them all. All the rest of us could see right through the BS, but they conned all the rest of them into voting for them.
What I was referring to is the people in office. Don't they realize that without the military, there wouldn't be a United States to be a member of the White House in?
They don't care.
Well, they don't care because it's contracted. You're signing your life on the line, basically. You have no freedoms. If you get sunburnt, if you get a tattoo in the wrong spot, etc., your ass is in trouble, and you're basically like a little toy soldier, and they're going to send you in there, and if they lose some, they lose some. If they don't, they don't. Like, basically, there's no respect for life there at all.
No, once you sign on the dotted line, you're pretty much a non-entity.
You're expendable.
And anybody that I know, including me, that signed on the dotted line, was lied to. They tell you whatever you want to hear, unless it's in writing, you're not getting it. And then
even if it's in writing,
combat training, yeah, they can change anything they want to.
Because there's that clause in there: needs of the government preclude all. I don't care what you have signed. Because this happened to me. It don't matter what they have said or what they have signed. That clause gives them carte blanche. Blanc, however that's pronounced.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they can do with you as they damn well please.
Yeah.
That's
basically your property, and that's what I didn't like. I didn't appreciate that at all.
We'll just say I've had 5 anthrax shots. I had an additional smallpox shot. I've had numerous shots called gamma globulin. When I was in Somalia, we took methylquine and primaquine, which are both experimental medications that the CIA did a field test on that made their CIA agents go psychiatric. So, no, when you find that dotted line, you are a guinea pig for the government. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we probably have one of the most ruthless governments on the globe. Well, I won't go there, but then you got to bring up Hitler and all the rest of them. But
well, Hitler was up front about
exactly.
He was up front about what he was doing. As they're doing the same thing. The U.S. government's doing the same thing. They're just doing it with different means, and they're doing it sneaky.
Yeah.
Oh, then you got to bring up paperclip, where we actually brought the Hitler's scientists over here to play. But anyway, not to bring the politics dominating the show. Markham, you've got your first question.
Yeah, I had a really good one. Well, the thing is, I got a good one, and then we'll start talking, and it's like, well, holy crap, then it chases my question out. Okay,
I learned to take notes this time.
Oh, I'm at work. I can't. I've between running the chemistry analyzer, keeping track of what we're doing, and everything. It's a little, and trying to chat once in a while. No, it's okay. I think we all agree that our government is broken. Republicans, Democrats, libertarians. I mean, we look at what we're getting, and the old saying, "How can you tell a politician is lying?" His lips are moving. It has become not just a joke. It's an axiom. It's become the truth. What do we need? How do we fix it? Obviously, voting isn't helping.
No, because of the voting system.
What do we need for a reset button? That's my question. What's the reset button?
Well,
Civil War.
Apocalypse.
Civil War, unfortunately, it would, because of the way people think, you would end up in all likelihood with the same problem all over again. The thing that people have to realize is, with the system as it is, people have to start talking to each other. They've got to get their heads out of the electronics and back around, quite literally, back around the dinner table to find out who they're related to, and then start finding out who the neighbor is. Because it's that unity that has collapsed that has led to what we've got now. And it's not just the U.S. Canada's got a very similar complication.
Well, and people
communities need...
attention to... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say communities need to be communities and support their themselves as communities. And then you start getting everyone working together. And then that's what the government
even that doesn't work. Even that doesn't work, Coop, because when this country started out, Salem wasn't a town. It was basically a community. Communities go awfully wrong. You know, the communities are just as wrong-headed, can be just as wrong-headed as nations in a whole. That's the problem. People are people, and it's no matter, knowing your neighbor. I know one of my neighbors, and the other one's a jerk. I wouldn't piss on one of my next door neighbors if they were on my feet, at my feet on fire. So
I think part of it. I think part of it is people need to understand this is not a race issue. It's not a religious issue. It's a class issue.
And that I agree.
That's what it boils down to. It's the rich versus the poor. And the middle class just kind of fall in with the poor.
Yeah, and they need to quit buying into the almighty dollar. Like, so many people I talk to are like, well, if you didn't vote for Trump, well, did you vote for Hillary? And no, I didn't. There's not just two people on the ballot ever. There's a handful of freaking people on there. If you do your homework, you'll find out. The only people you see are the ones with the money, and that's how it's done, by the almighty dollar. And it's ridiculous. Do your homework. Research who's out there. There's other options. But like you said, it doesn't really matter because of the Electoral College, which I think should be abolished.
Well, and the other big problem is that they've convinced...
I don't think it needs to be abolished. Let me get this real quick, because part of the reason that the Founding Fathers... They came about because you could have California and New York taking turns calling the shots on the election. Now, where the Electoral College is necessary in that it takes the influence of these huge states away from the electoral process. However, there is a clause. The elector, the people that are in there, do not have to cast their vote as it's coming out. Say New Hampshire was predominantly candidate A. Personally, they like candidate B. They can put their vote in candidate. That's what needs to be fixed. The Electoral College needs to stay in place to keep these big states from running the whole show. However, the rules need to be changed within the Electoral College. You don't vote your conscience. You don't have a choice if you're an elector and the majority was candidate A. Your little butt marks candidate A on the electoral vote.
You better.
That's how it needs to be done.
Yeah.
But they've got that wiggle room. And now it's all electronic. You don't know who won the election.
Well, see, the biggest problem
running the electronics is who won the election.
One of the biggest problems that we got right now is that they have brainwashed everybody so much to the fact that they have convinced everyone that there is only two parties. And I have had these conversations with people, And it's like butting your head against the wall. You say, no, there was like 3 other people that were candidates that you could have voted for. And they keep going right back to, well, yeah, I know that. But I'm just an example, and they keep going and repeating themselves back to, well, if you didn't vote for this one, then you were voting for this one. No, did you not hear me? Open your brain and shut your mouth and listen, because there is more than just these 2 idiots to vote for. There's a few more out there that if you paid attention, instead of being so sucked up in everything that they tell you, pull your head from betwixt your butt cheeks. When you hear that nice pop, that's your ears clearing. Okay? And pay attention and look and see that there's other candidates. And if you don't like this candidate and that candidate, vote for one of the other ones.
Yep.
Exactly.
You can't seem to convince anybody of that.
But then the argument is, well, that's just throwing your vote away, and the other 2 candidates
right, which is the
are going to win
I
anyway.
don't think it is.
It isn't. I voted.
That's the conventional wisdom, though.
I voted Jill Stein. And she got 13% of the votes, which is phenomenal for a third party candidate. But anytime you tell somebody, you're a Trump hater, they automatically call you a snowflake. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't vote for Hillary either. You got nowhere to, and it kills me. It's like, no, Trump and Clinton were not the only 2 running. You must be a Democrat or a liberal. No, actually, I'm not. I walk the line. I'm the closest to a constitutional party. I don't like the constitutional party either, though, because they're too religious-based. You say constitutional party, and they automatically bring out the Bible. And, that's the only... I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. That's where I stand.
Yeah.
I believe in the Second Amendment rights to an extent. I don't believe everyone needs to have a gun. If you're psychiatric, or if you have a criminal record, you should not have a gun. Tell the NRA that, and they'll get... the NRA will get all kinds of banana shape. Everybody needs to. No, actually, they don't. I think and I'm not. I don't want to make this a Second Amendment discussion, but at the same time, I think where we're wrong is you need to have education on how to use a firearm before you can have one. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can walk in and get a gun, whether they ever shot one or not. That's part of the problem too, along with mental health.
You know what I have to say?
Wholeheartedly.
You know what I have to say about all of those that call you a snowflake, and most of them do it over the internet. For every single one of you guys that wants to call me a snowflake over the internet, come to my door and see how snowflakey I am.
Well, they won't, because they're keyboard warriors.
Following that one chick on the internet, whoever the heck that bimbo is. I don't even know her name, but I've heard about her, and she's the one who started the whole snowflake scenario.
Well, I agree that you should not. Well, when I grew up in Michigan, and you weren't allowed to hunt without an adult. Oh God, until you were like 16, it was almost like you had to take a hunter safety course. And there was a practical exam. It wasn't just a rubber stamp. And
nope, I took it.
When I took my concealed carry, I've owned guns since I was 18. Holy crap! There was a lot of stuff I didn't know that I learned when taking that course. So yeah, I think that there's a woeful inadequacy in firearms education in the country.
And I think that's part of the problem, because any ignorant person can go out and buy a gun and not have any kind of education. Yeah, you were military. I was in the Army. We had gun safety drilled into our heads. Oh my God! Don't even bring that barrel down. So
where's that finger? Get that finger out of that trigger guard and give me 20. Yep.
Yeah, but at least you don't fire very on. At least you don't accidentally set a gun off after the training. At least not often. You know,
well, like I said, I am not.
I wouldn't even discuss that one. We had an officer that fired his pistol into the clearing barrel at the DFAC in Iraq. Yeah, it happens all the time. But they're trained. The point is they're trained. They are trained. They know better. But stupid. There's stupid people everywhere. Exactly.
You know, the interesting thing is, is that there are other countries that have guns. They have plenty of guns. But in those countries, for you to have a gun, you have to go through rigorous training to have it. I mean, they make you go through military standardized training for a gun, literally. And it's
you have to have a special license.
Yeah, and there's tons of people that have the guns, but every single one of them is fully trained to the max
and registered.
And you look at their statistics, and they don't have near as many weapons homicides or weapons deaths per capita as we do.
No, I think you're
probably
the number one.
There's a big fallacy that if you take guns away from people, that violent crimes and deaths go down. No, they just move to knives, and they're finding this out in the UK, okay, no guns. So then they start stabbing each other with knives. Well, now you have to round the nose of the knife off. Well, you can still slice somebody's throat with that knife, and you can always bludgeon them. You can't outlaw everything that can kill. If you got a criminal element that was intent on killing, and you take away their guns, they'll use rocks.
Ironically, they found in Sweden years ago, and this is where the red light district seems to have come from my understanding, the one thing that does cut down on violent crime is the call girls. You keep them active, and because they found when they did that back in Sweden, so they came along and said, clear all the call girls, their pimps, the patrons, pull them all in. And a month later, their violent crime had risen 700%. So the cop just went, we're not doing it.
You know what? I like Tripp's comment. Make everybody serve at least one term in the military.
Yeah,
Germany does it.
No exceptions.
They do that.
Honestly, if you're physically unfit or certified, you can be anybody. Okay, like we actually talked with Christopher Fisher has cerebral palsy. He would have loved to have gone into the military. Hey, you take a guy like that. Look how brilliant he is. We know him through the chat room. Yep. How brilliant he is in software, and the military could have used him behind a desk.
Yeah,
There's no reason just because he had cerebral palsy and couldn't do you could do something. You could have a unit of boot camp where you could instill the discipline and get people oriented to that military lifestyle that didn't have to be as rigorous as the full fit. And yes, you're going to have the scammers that are going to want to have the easy track, but those can get weeded out, or you have to have responsible officers somewhere weeding that out. But everybody ought to do at least, like Israel. You are part of the Israeli Defense Forces. 2 years active, 6 years inactive? Something like everybody. And I don't care if you're Congressman Dickwad's son or what, your butt goes in the military. And you don't go in as an officer, that you go in as a ground pounder.
No. In Germany, it's a mandatory 2 years. Now, the only way to get out of that is if you are actually in a trade school. Because either way, you are contributing to society. So if you are in a trade school for hotel management, as a chef, something that's going to contribute to society, that's the only way, other than medical conditions, that you get out of military service. Other than that, everybody does 2 years in Germany. And I think that should be here.
See, in Switzerland everybody does 3 months a year. Never mind, you put 2 years in and you're off the hook. Switzerland, you're in the military. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, everybody should be trained.
Well, everybody benefits from protecting the country. They really do. And, I mean, they wouldn't, the reality is, being epileptic, they wouldn't let me into the military at the time. Something about automatic weapons and epileptics. But,
Right.
The sad reality is, people on the... I mean, I never understood it, because I know a chap that is paranoid schizophrenic, so they trained him to use explosives. Kill ratio would be better, but the thing is that when you take a look at the whole thing of the discipline, people joke about it and what have you, but the sad reality is, if you're going to if you're going to have a country and you're going to have it run, the military is there to protect the entire country. Everybody should be really doing something. I mean, you take a look, the other thing you look at, the number of people that are on the street because they are homeless. Why not pick, don't get me wrong, there are some that are homeless for various reasons, but the ones that can be put in the military and put to work, why not pick them up?
Most of our homeless are vets and stuff,
Yeah, and that's a problem in and of itself.
Here's the thing. But here's the thing with homeless vets, because everyone looks at drugs and alcohol. It's called self-medication. Guaranteed, about 90% of the veterans that are homeless have PTSD, but won't get diagnosed, they won't diagnose them because it costs too much. I had to fight tooth and nail to get my rating. I had to fight the Army, actually, because they wanted to give me 10% and have a nice life after 19 and a half years of 4 combat tours. So I actually had to call Senator Murray, and she got involved. But you talk about, we're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide and 2 active duty to suicide a day. I know those statistics haven't gone down. There's an issue.
Yeah, and who knows
obviously.
if they're accurate anymore?
Say again?
I said, who knows if they're accurate anymore, because the way they report things. They don't really report things
probably
anyhow.
I bet it's probably understated, I guess, or underreported. What
they mostly do is they'll drug you out. That's what they did to a friend of mine. They just basically dosed him out on morphine and then took it away from him, and he ended up committing suicide because he had become dependent on it, and they just ripped the carpet out from underneath his feet, and he blew his head off. They don't want to deal with it. They're in denial. This didn't exist until recently, and when in fact it's been going on for a very, very long time. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. Give me a freaking break. Like, our country needs to freaking pull its head out of its ass and take care of what's taking care of them. You got to take care of your assets, and the military is an asset to this country. They protect our rights and our freedom.
As far as I'm concerned,
exactly.
Any person who signs up to be in the military and goes and sees active duty, the moment they're done, the government should take care of them for the rest of their lives, because they stepped up,
agreed,
and put themselves on there for government. They put their lives out there for government and country. So that should automatically, right there, give you a pass. There shouldn't be a single homeless veteran out there. As much money as this government wastes on stupid stuff, including stupid shutdowns and tax breaks for the rich, they could have taken all of that money and put housing up for half of that money for every single homeless vet. And another quarter of that money could have taken care of all of their housing needs, such as food, clothing, and everything else, and their medical care. I mean, that's how much money we're wasting on nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't care what...
To put up structures and cafeterias, etc., and take care of this population, but instead they just ignore it. Because it will eventually
because
go
they already
away,
got their use
and
out of
nobody cares.
It's a disposable society.
Yeah.
We're done with it. You can throw them away now.
We're getting down to the wire.
We got too many vets on this panel. We can get
we can make this a show. Markham, you got your question ready?
That was okay. All right. Here's a legitimate question. Say some breakthrough happens in a lab tonight. Tomorrow it's announced to the world, we have faster than light travel. The universe is now our open book. Do you think that the other sentient races of the universe would allow that? Or would they look on the human race as we are right now as a disease that needed to be kept on its, on the organ that it is already infected?
Well,
or would they come forward and try to guide the progress?
Oh, they would.
She's got the answer.
We've had that conversation a number of times, and the answer is there would no longer be a question for anybody as to whether or not we were alone, because they would land on the front line of every one of the countries at the same time, going, "Okay, you guys have faster than light. Now it's time you bring your brains up to speed, because out there they will kill you for transgressions of honor." And they won't kill just you. They'll wipe out the entire half of the planet just to get the point across. But they wouldn't stop the progression of the science, right? But they would absolutely step in and stop the getting out in their world without increasing educational levels on all levels of society.
And I don't blame them, because the human race is a disease.
No, but it is a child.
Right.
It's not a disease, but they are. The human race is so immature and so combative amongst itself. There are cultures where they go, okay, if you're going to have, like, I know of some cultures where they go, okay, you want to go to war. Well, your country's not going to war. You're the leader. You're fighting the leader, not a representative of the leader, but you're fighting the leader himself. If you win, the war is over. Now get back to work.
Right. I agree with that completely.
But the FTL issue, would they let the FTL knowledge exist, and would they let it be worked on? Absolutely. But they would certainly step in, and that's been discussed multiple times. When they make the breakthrough, are we going to let it happen? Well, the answer is yes, because societies cannot evolve if you don't let them do things like that. But they would not let they wouldn't let it go outside without being introduced to the realities of, hey, you're going off this planet, you're heading for interstellar.
Okay.
Here's the reality of what you're walking into.
I lost Coop there for a minute, so I had to get him back. The usual
his
hang
2
up.
hours.
Well, that's a necessity.
His hour and 45 minutes is up. Or 2 hours.
I think we got lost at the same time.
That is a necessity. You have to lose Coop at least once a show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's usually if he can last to the break, we have to call him back, yeah. I just, it bothers me to think of, I look at how a virus replicates. And I had thought of this long before the analogy was used in Matrix. I was had already had my virology classes and had worked in virology before that movie was ever made, of how humans tend to overgrow their environment, move on to another environment, overgrow that environment, and it dawned on me back in college that humans are essentially the same thing as a virus. And would it be, they can't want us out there unless we're weaponized. If some race with even less morals than we did thought it was a good way of, weaponized human beings.
No. Well, the thing is, the off-worlders are actually afraid of man because of man's uncontrolled curiosity coupled with violent behavior. And frankly, the fact that so many in the alien side, so many humans are so absolutely narcissistic and consumed by a godplex that it's just, it's amazing to a lot of the off-worlders. It's amazing that the human race is actually still breathing.
Well, and the other problem is that we have this uncanny ability to go the complete wrong way about winning. And come out of it, come out the other side of it, with a win with something that probably shouldn't have worked, and somehow it did. And I think that probably confuses them a bit.
That absolutely does. Plus, of course, mankind's ability to handle what we call zero-point energy, to be able to modify, if you will, the reality of probability. And add all of that together, and all of a sudden you've got this race that is almost unstoppable, but it's only almost unstoppable if you don't want to eliminate it. If you want to try and do it nicely, good luck with that. But that's where a lot of the problem is. But would that kind of technology be permitted? Certainly. The other side of that, though, that I question is, with that kind of a revelation, what happens to the superstructure of society in the process?
That was the premise that was pretty much the thesis of my last blog for Spaced Out Radio, is if we're waiting for a government to, Big Daddy government to say, yeah, aliens are real, it's not going to happen, because the intellectual shackles then come off the population of the world. It's we are not only are we not alone in the universe, they're here. That puts the government the hell out of business.
Actually,
in a big
all
way.
Fairness, that's a misconception, because the reality is, when the off-worlders do reveal themselves, the government, which has to be at that point brought into a global community, becomes a critical factor on this planet.
But it becomes a different form of government. It's not the Okay, I shouldn't say government. I should say the status quo government as it is now would cease to exist. And that's why they are not going to disclose, because they like the status quo.
Well,
you do a couple terms as a congressman, you got all the whores and drugs and free medical you could ever want until the day they put you in the ground. That's a pretty good gig.
Don't let the man get you down, but he does every day, because you go to work every day and you work your job and you don't get your time with your family and all the other important stuff you should be doing, And that's how they control you, by making you work so you can pay your taxes and continue to live as a law-abiding citizen. That's why
would it even be possible? Would it even be possible to live completely off the grid? No taxes, no contact with the U.S. government in this country anymore. I mean, you know, other than maybe if you could hide in a friggin' cave that they didn't know about.
And with their satellite reconnaissance, good luck in that idea. Although there are places to get to.
You know, in some states, it's even illegal to catch rainwater because the government thinks they own the rainwater.
Yeah, we just recently got it passed here where we can catch it now, but before it was illegal.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I grew up in Arkansas, and we caught our rainwater all the time. So I was like, "What the hell is this law?" You know, but yeah, they passed a law. We can do it now, and that just really surprised me. I didn't even know that law existed.
Yeah,
well, do you know where the origin of that law was? California has overused the water from the Colorado River so badly that legislation was put in place so that water could make it to the river. If you go to Bullhead City, Arizona, and see where the Colorado River was 20 years ago, it's a creek compared to where it used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally just it breaks your heart when you see where it used to be. And now it's, you know, it's not even probably 10% of what it used to. And it's probably worse now. That was, I think it was about 15 years ago, maybe, when I was travel tech is when I did that.
Like that. I know it was like some time ago. We heard about it.
Real quick, Trips bringing up, and he's brought it up twice now, that it's also illegal to feed the homeless.
Where?
I know, like at different places I've worked, I've tried to give them the food that we were just going to throw out, and they wouldn't allow me to do it because if that person got sick off the food, they'd be liable, which I thought was BS.
No,
but
that
I
happens.
mean, that should be the least of your concern, but people are greedy and they do that and ruin it for everybody else.
Well, I mean, you go really sideways here on some of the lawsuits that I've heard hit the books. That the moment they hit the books, the guy should have been, whoever was placing the lawsuit, should have been charged with abuse of the system. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of times I think the judge and the lawyer should have been marched out in the street and shot in public to discourage such stupidity in the future.
You know, the other
I
problem...
used to just leave the gate unlocked to the dumpster and they can just help themselves to whatever they wanted, you know?
That's exactly what used to happen in my hometown. One of the guys I went to school with, you know, we all get that first... I worked farm, but some of my friends worked in restaurants. A friend of mine got a job at KFC. He was taking the food, the food or, you know, the trash out one night, and there was a homeless guy in the bin. Scared, you know, traumatized guy. The guy got down, you know, the kid just about had a nervous breakdown. The manager said, "Tell him it's okay, I'm just bringing your food out to you."
Aww.
The guy lived in that dumpster to eat the throwaway KFC.
You know, the other problem
what about
the other problem that they're running into too, there's been places where people have been arrested for feeding the homeless because they didn't have a food handler's card. They're looking for every technical way to do this, and it's just ridiculous. You know, you should be able to give. You should be able to go out and give somebody who has no food, who is starving to death, some food. Right. No one should have to starve to death. That's, you know, not in the richest country of the world. There's no excuse for it.
You know, I like
that kind of mindless stupidity. That kind of mindless stupidity, though, is almost enough to make me believe in a good versus evil, Christian versus Luciferian thing, because that kind of law is so evil on so many levels that but then again, humans can be that awful on their own. I think that's why we invented the devil, is to have somebody to blame for what what pieces of
when
refuge
you
it could be.
But then it brings to mind the video that was circulating about Walmart and all the food that was out back behind the Walmart that they were just throwing away, and the guy wanted to take some milk and some and they actually were threatening to call the cops because he wanted to take some milk from stuff they were throwing away.
Yeah, and that stuff was supposed to be good for months.
Especially with the amount of chemical they put in it. But, you know, when you look at it, and this is one of the things I saw a posting on Facebook, and it literally applies to every country I know of. But the way it was put, you asked who's to feed the homeless. According to this one post, it said, there are approximately 360,000 churches in the country. And it was talking about states. The same applies to Canada. Why, with that many churches, are there 200,000 starving people on the streets?
Well, because all they really care about is their tithing, etc. Like, I've had churches reach out and help friends of mine and give them food and stuff like that, but, I mean, all they're really interested is in numbers as far as membership and getting tithing to pay for whatever they see fit.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what they're paying for because they're not doing what they're claiming. But when you look at technology, if the technology were to actually be released that exists, never mind these sudden breakthroughs, the only caution around all of it, like with this FTL thing, getting back to where we were, is you'd have to be careful from a societal standpoint on how you introduce it, on how quick you do, because you've got to make sure that it gets moved over carefully so society itself doesn't buckle in the process. Right. The same thing will happen when they finally figure out how gravity works to make the hovercraft. To make the proper ones, the anti-gravity craft. They're going to have to transition it. It can't be done overnight, or society will buckle.
I just wanted to go back to gun control really quick. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and they have the highest crime rate. Like, gun control really doesn't work.
No. Education will.
Everyday people like you and me, that need guns to protect their homes can't have them, but then people, that have connections in the black market or whatnot, they have ample supply of it. Ammunition.
And like they always argue, you take the guns away from the citizens, the criminals will always get them.
Well, absolutely they will. That applies across the board in every legal system. If the laws are not equal across the board, you will end up with an underground society. And if that underground society's laws are not equal to everybody there, it will fracture society again.
You know what gun control is? Gun control is proper education and using both hands.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Don't
point your gun at something unless you plan on shooting it.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And we are actually getting down to the last 3 minutes of the show. Go ahead and give your last comment there, Keith.
Oh, I was thinking that when you're looking at education, you cannot legislate intelligence. You can't legislate common sense, but you can educate it.
Completely agree. So
you can try.
Thank you, panels. Thank you, panels, for being on the roundtable tonight. Great show as usual. For any new listeners that haven't found Forest Moon Paranormal yet, you can find us on Facebook. Just punch in Forest Moon Paranormal, join the group. If you got issues, get a hold of us. And go ahead and take us home, Corey.
Okay.
Good night.
I would like to thank our panel tonight that came on, our FMP scientist, Eric Markham, our astrologer and alien specialist, our Keith Andrews, and Tessa Nicole Thomas Peterson from Four Corners Paranormal. Join us next Saturday at midnight Pacific Standard Time as we have our Forest Moon Paranormal Team Show. And you might want to join in for this one because we got some great topics coming in on this one. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SpacedOutRadio.com, and The Fringe FM. And now on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. till noon on KSVU 90.1 on your FM dial for all of you who are local. I would like to thank all of our listeners out there for giving us your precious time, because without you, there is no S4. Good night, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.